Alright you guys, we're back, and you know what? I have hardly made any videos of this 1972 flat windshield Stupid Beetle that's over here. This sucker has come in here and, well, Duckman did a complete engine swap over and replaced all the missing parts that were on it, and there were a lot of missing parts. This engine was a complete disaster when it was given to me. Thankfully it had no real mechanical defects, it just had problems where things didn't work right. You know, the carburetor was literally falling apart, and the fuel pump didn't pump because it turned out it had a dirt dauber's nest or something up in the... Yeah, it was just terrible. It also had the wrong distributor. Now it's got the right one. That's right. 009 is a crap distributor. It doesn't belong on a Volkswagen street-driven vehicle. A lot of people give me hell about that lately, but you know what? If they were intended to be on there, they would have been a cheaper design and Volkswagen would have used them, but Volkswagen never did. So, proper 034. Or an SVDA, also known as. So, let me show you the sucker running. Here we are in the captain's seat. This sucker starts up pretty easy. Got idiot lights on there. These didn't work properly either when I got the car in my possession. In fact, none of the gauge lights are working properly. I think the gauge might have gotten wet at some point because everything had dirty connections, and there was a couple of bad bulbs too. But I put the good bulbs down in the most important positions, generator and oil, because you need to have those on this car in order to operate it properly, because if those come on when you're running it, you need to shut it off immediately. Very important. So I made sure the good bulbs are down there, but we got some new bulbs in order for this thing. But it should fire right up. It's probably going to make me look like an idiot because we're on camera, but let's see what happens. It's a cold motor, so not to be surprised that it took a little bit there, but yeah, it's running a little choppy. It'll warm up in a minute. Let's go around the back and have a look. There we go. Sounds good now, doesn't it? Just needs a minute to warm up. Definitely a runner, but whenever I get a car from somebody and a box of parts that somebody else had started taking apart, I always end up with a real disaster. And I'm never happy to work on a car that has been somebody else's project, because that's when you discover that they didn't put things away in a way that's organized, things are lost, things are broken, things are missing. It's always just, you open up that can of worms, and this problem was this car and this engine came from two different people in two different stages of, yeah, it was, oh. Anyway, it took me about 3 weeks to get that engine in there and everything running and working on this car, and it had a lot of electrical problems too. The wiring inside of this car for the headlights and stuff was just all thrown through the trunk. It wasn't tucked to where it needed to be because somebody had already doinked with it. Everything on the fuse box is in the wrong positions. I don't know who thought of what. It's not dangerous, there's no shorts, everything works, but all the fuse box positions are all wrong on this thing, so that was a mess. Not that they're not a mess on stock Volkswagens anyway. This rat's nest of wires you see on here is actually rather normal. So anyway, I reorganized the wiring as best I could for what was there. I got his headlights working properly. I even got the horn button working. Well, I should say the horn working. He's got the wrong button and provisions for it. It doesn't have the striker in there that's supposed to hit the little blade on the inside of the steering column, so the horn button won't work. He's missing some stuff with that custom steering wheel. But it's set up to do it. If he puts a stock steering wheel in, it will work. Turn signals now work on it, which they did not before. And there they are. In fact, when I had the column switch apart, because the ignition switch went bad too, that was another thing. When I turned the key, the coil would go dead. It would be on, and as soon as you start cranking, coil goes dead. Well, if the coil's dead and it's cranking, it's never going to start, which is the common problem with a lot of these aftermarket ignition switches, particularly the ones you get from O'Reilly's. They have a lifetime guarantee on them, but I'll tell you what, they're just no good. They always seem to lose the coil circuit. Anyway, he had one in his box of parts, but it was for a wrong year, so I did a little grinding on the plastic to make it fit. Otherwise, electrically, it was exactly the same. Once I got it in there, I was able to put the mounting screw in where it belongs, and it worked just fine. But while I had the steering column apart, I discovered his headlight, I should say, high beam, low beam switch, turn signal switch. All the wires that are in there, they run like my fingers, all side by side. They're all crisscrossed and knotted, and they're wrapped up in Scotch tape. So again, somebody else's problem. So I took that apart and got it fixed too. Now it's properly working. So he's got turn signals, he's got high beam, low beam, He's also got his halo lights on here. Let me turn them on for you. They're kind of neat. Okay. What's great about them is with the headlights style it's on here, you almost can't tell that they're more modern headlights. And I kind of like that because a lot of them, they have those like a black bezel with LEDs in them, and it doesn't look factory. These could almost pass as factory. I really like it. And then the halo just looks kind of neat. So anyway, we got that wired up properly, so now we can turn it on and off with the headlight switch. The clutch was all messed up on this too. Somebody had cranked the clutch cable down all the way. And I mean cranked it all the way as tight as it would possibly go, and then cranked it into the cable. So when I went to put the engine in, and this is the first time I've encountered this, the engine wouldn't go in because the throwout bearing was pushing the engine back out. Now if I got the engine aligned properly and I was able to catch some of the threads, I probably could have cranked it in, and then I would have noticed later that the clutch was all maladjusted. But it took me stabbing the engine in and out 3 times to realize what was going on there and how severe of an issue it was. Anyway, I loosened the clutch cable up, got the engine installed, and while it was in there, we realized he was missing a whole bunch of heater components, and I said, dude, you know, do you want to run the heat on this thing? Do you even need it? And he's from a warm weather climate, warmer than even here. He said, no, get rid of it. So J-tubes it was. So I installed the J-tubes and all the necessary provisions to make that stuff work, deleted all the heater stuff. I got the clutch then adjusted properly, and then at that point I had a running driver. And this is good. You know, another problem I had, something I had never encountered before, the 3-bolt flange right there on the exhaust, that little triangle, it was tucked up behind the apron for some reason. And it wasn't that I had it maladjusted or misinstalled or some kind of crap like that. It's just the exhaust wasn't formed properly. So what I ended up doing was reshaping the exhaust. I made sure everything was bolted down on the flange on the backside. I took the J-tubes out and I shoved a pipe in there into the 3-bolt flange with the muff off and just pushed down on it and just kept bending it and forming it until I not only had it straight horizontally, but it was lower than the rear apron. That got the single quiet pack on there, which I don't know if it's even the right one for a Beetle, because the angle of it, it's kind of coming out this way. It should be going kind of that way. So this might be intended for a bus. I don't know if they're different. I haven't done too many Type 1 style, you know, merged header exhausts on a split window bus before, but that might be what that's intended for. Nonetheless, it does fit. It is working. And you shouldn't have any problems with it other than a little bit of ground clearance issue because, well, it is pretty low to the ground. And I think the car has been lowered just a tad, but when I go in and out of my driveway, it does touch the ground. It does give a little concrete kiss. So it is a bit low, and I'll make sure that he's mindful of that. But he's coming for this thing shortly, and I mean, this thing is a driver. It performs quite well. It's torquey. It takes off. It runs well. The only thing I'm going to have him do, which I did not do, is get the engine nice and hot, run it up, because we don't know what condition this thing was in or how it was treated beforehand. It's got oil in it currently, but what I want him to do is just run it for a good, 30 minutes or so down the interstate or something, get it nice and hot, take it home and immediately dump that oil out. Just dump it out, put fresh oil in it, and then I would give it a clean bill of health from here on forward. But just because we don't know if there's any moisture in that oil, if the oil is just caca, dirty, yuck. I can't tell you where this engine was, or, well, I knew who had it, but I don't know how it was treated. So that's what I would recommend for anybody that just gets a second-hand engine that's used. And that's the situation with this one. But this car, this tomato red color, this cheap camera of mine makes it even more orange than it actually is. I just stepped in an anthill. Oh boy. Those are never fun. Is it a living one? No, it's a dead one. Alright, well that's good at least. I didn't get bit. Alright, cool. Okay. Well, that's it. 1972 flat windshield, stupid Beetle, pre-vertible. Running, driving, all good to go. There it is. I think he's going to be very happy with that. Alright, well he should be here shortly. Well, I guess that's it for now. Like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Don't forget to pluck that dingle bell to get updates every time I upload a video. Don't forget to, yeah, that's it. But otherwise, I probably would have made more videos about this, but with all the hurricanes coming, this has been, what, it was Helene, and then it was Milton shortly after that, and then other disturbances, that had made me want to push this thing as quickly as possible to get it out of here, because it has a convertible top. So that's the reason why I haven't made a whole lot of videos on this thing, and that's the only reason. The only reason. I just wanted to keep pushing it. I tell you what, I got a lot done in half the time I normally would without blabbing running the camera all the damn time. So I may start showing less work on the camera and more results instead. Because ultimately that's what you guys really want to see. Unless I get into something that's, you know, very specific or detailed that I haven't covered in a video before, maybe we'll you know, dig a little deeper into those types of things. But I'm just glad this thing is going. I think he's going to be happy. Our car show is exactly in 1 week from today, the time that I'm recording this, so he should be able to get it to the show too. Is this closed? I guess it is. It's got a case of the Eleanors. See this hood gap here? That was something that Earl put a lot of attention into on Eleanor to make it as good as possible, but a lot of these Beetles, the hoods don't fit very well. There's always a gap right about here. If you put the Mexican hood seal on there, it actually alleviates a lot of that. But yeah, he's got the Eleanors. Earl's the one that first pointed that out to me. And you'll see some cars will fit just friggin' perfect, and then other ones will sit like that. They sit up kind of high. Sometimes that means they've been crashed, and well, Eleanor was one such example of a crashed car. The hood did not come from that car either, so. Alright, well, there's that Beetle. Here's my Eleanor. She's coming out of the garage now that I have a spot. Look at that. Because I got to get her ready for the show, so I got to push this thing out of here. I also have a single cab split window bus coming that's got some electrical work that I'll be doing on it, so we'll be seeing that coming up probably this week. Electrical videos I don't usually cover too into depth because they're boring as shit. I mean, some of you guys love them really, but I think they're boring as shit. And they're kind of hard to sit through because, well, electricity you can't see. You have to dream it. You have to rationalize it in your mind. It's something you can't physically see. So it's kind of hard to demonstrate an electrical video without a whole bunch of, you know, lights and things coming on at the same time as you're making connections, or at least frying things and making fuses explode. I guess that would make people pay attention. Anyways, we are going to wrap this one up. So, like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to pluck that dingle bell so you get updates every time I upload a video. Check out duckshit.net for all of my different social media links. Thanks you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. And we'll be back with the single cab bus probably this week. Or, well, maybe even the next video you see will be a go-kart video. Or maybe it'll be Eleanor at the car show video. I guess we'll have to see. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. There he goes. Another happy owner. Brake lights are working. Fix that too. Exhaust cleared. Ooh, it was close though. He is just so happy. He's had the car about 6 or 7 months, and it's been broken pretty much the whole time he owned it. Now it works. And here he goes. He's got to learn how to He's got to relearn how to drive it again because it's a completely different experience now that everything is proper. Alright, you guys. Thanks for watching.